You're listening to the Not Alone channel on the Andio Internet Radio Network. Your favorite segment and mine is just in time to make sense of this week's events in our world. This is Not Alone's In the System with your host, Grim Savior. Greetings, programs. It's Grim again with the latest on everything happening in our country as we speak. Today's news items are the latest on refugees that have gone missing in the fight against the latest government boogeyman in the Middle East, as well as the latest news on the political group, the March in Moscow, a pro-Soviet Union sympathizer terrorist group, and with ties to the traitors in the Kremlin and the Russian mafia. They apparently are assassinating rival politicians and targeting Russian President Kozlov, and with it a potential Russian civil war on the horizon, so go figure. Just the world we live in, right? And one last small piece of news, South and North Korea make peace to form one whole Korea from a unification movement in the esports community. Never would have thought I'd see video games actually do something good, right? Specifically from the game Night of Forting 2, Enter the Boogaloo. I've never played any of these. And with all the general news items out of the way, our main story surrounds a reported leak in the Pentagon's unleashing of a last resort weapon of potentially unimaginable destruction. Listen to this. We received audio clips of this situation from an envelope left at Not Alone's headquarters, simply labeled Sin in the Hackers. Whoever sent these audio clips in clearly has inside information about some sort of weaponized AI that has evidently been leaked from a private, previously secure, is it ever, Pentagon data vault. More details on that later, of course, after all the general news items are out of the way. For now, we need to take a short break of sorts to gain some corporate money to continue our show. I hate it as much as you, but we gotta keep the lights on somehow. But we'll get into the news items of the day when we get back. Tired of waiting for, anything? You're a young 20 or 30-something, even in spirit it counts. Now you can. Introducing Rainforest Double Prime Prenup Package for life. As a consumer of many things, time is your most valuable commodity. The way you spend it means something to us. And we certainly wouldn't want to think of your existence without your expendable income filling our vaults or our products wasting that precious time. With the Double Prime Prenup Package for life, you'll never have to do anything slow ever again. The secret is in our patented adrenaline formula. Simply go to one of our many safe and certified installment centers in your urbanite area, and in no time, breathing, walking, running, heck, living will never be at a snail's pace ever again. The simple procedure puts a tiny incision in the spinal column and both temples, and directly stimulates the veins found there via IV with an FDA recommended amount of caffeine and Advil, so pain and fatigue never slow you down, ever again. So stop living like a tortoise and get in the hair lane, Grandma. Start living at full speed with Rainforest Double Prime Prenup Package for life for the rest of your life, today. Now, buy it!
No purchase necessary. FDA recommendation may be exaggerated. Results may vary. Price disclosed through subsidiaries of Rainforest Inc. through additional on-site negotiations on top of the base cost for the Double Prenup Package for life subscription. Side effect may include nausea, internal bleeding, blindness, loss of memory, loss of blood, loss of breathing and brain function, loss of consciousness. Great for sleep. Rainforest Inc. is not liable for any harm that comes to you or any harm that you cause under the influence of our product, according to the flyer signing prior to the procedure.
Welcome back to the show, truthers and red pill recipients alike. Now the general news items of the day. First, the latest reports out of Afghanistan about the Quran commandos are conflicting an awful lot with the first-hand accounts of returning ground troops from the area. Some claim the Quran commandos are, in fact, a boogeyman entity made up by the military to continue our ongoing war on terror, which by now we should all agree is a sham. The real reasons really range from money to testing our new toys from private weapon contractors, and some reports, this is the key, even suggest prisoners from this organization, along with refugees being rescued from this area, are being secretly labeled with black light markers for potential organ harvesting candidates. It's a simple Y or N that's written on the forehead while they're asleep. This comes all the way from a Fox subsidiary entity, which I know has a bias, but the documentation is extensive. Some 15,000 refugees have gone missing. Now, of course, our government is going to say they just up and left, but the other possibilities, given the current state of the medical care system in this country, I don't think this can be ignored. An influx of organs from viable donors could save lives or bring in a nice profit. One such nice piece of communication talks about a shipment of bodies from that area. The comment from the operator is some were still breathing. So, where are they taking them? Why are we over there in the Middle East again? Because me and the rest of you aren't buying this story, and I know that. Uncle Sam is going to have to scramble together something more believable than, "They were already dead," or "There was a mix-up." Which is, by the way, essentially the argument they're making. You can let them hear about how you're feeling through our forums at Reddit/in-the-system. We'll take a short break for me to breathe, but we'll be right back. This August, Love and Peace will attempt to conquer Earth. Amanda Armis plays a linguist contracted by the government to speak with mysterious aliens entering Earth's atmosphere. Watch as she and her obvious love interest exchange awkward glances in gray sepia for 2.5 hours. These two will feel and think more than any other cardboard cutout human being in the entire movie, which has already received 16 Oscar nominations. Critics are saying Touchdown is a revelation and revolution in the way we view sci-fi. Who needs hard questions or foes when the aliens want to unify the human race? But the humans are just too stupid and stubborn to realize it. Only Amanda Armis can save all of us knuckle-draggers from the brink of destruction. Amanda Armis stars in Touchdown, a story of triumph, love, future, and already happened past. Rated PG. Now, had to cool down a bit after that. The march marching on President Kozlov's current conservative rule in the Kremlin. This has some real implications if the reports are factual, which I do. I do think they are because of the sources we got this information from. So, recently riots from the Kremlin urban areas have been ramping up, allegedly being aided by the March resistance group. Word is the Russian mobs from all around the metro area are coordinating with these riot efforts, with the march, to create opportunity for assassinations of Kozlov's closest party insider, Avril Kuleshov. The march wants to reinstate Soviet rule and have promised various mob leaders positions of power if the movement succeeds. Each mob would get their own slice of Russia to split the profit, those are in air quotes of course, of land and production. Avril acknowledges most people are generally unhappy with the slight inflation and recent dip in the job market, which can explain some of the riots, but many of the larger riots come from members of the march posing as regular citizens. That last bit came from leaked interrogation reports from Russia's own secret service. We'll have links to all these reports to our public website with a corresponding timestamp, if you're so inclined. Also, for the forums, let us know what you think. Are the march a legitimate threat? Or are they a plant from Kozlov's brain trust to gain sympathy from their conservative base? And where does the mob stand in all this? Did Kozlov hire them? We'll find out soon enough. We'll be right back. Tired of being afraid of getting robbed at night? How many more sleepless hours will you stare at your door, lamenting a criminal's untimely entrance and your quick demise? Worry no more, friend. Introducing the Blast Boy 3500 MXP82 Model 6 20-gauge assault scattergun. Your family needs you most when you're at your most vulnerable, and when are they most ripe for the stabbing? That's right, when they're asleep. Instead of having some potentially sentient robot groom you like a pet rock, or, God forbid, act like nothing bad will ever happen, ever. Be like the Old West heroes of yesteryear. Kick back with a double of whiskey and sit in your oiled rocking chair, cuts down on the squeaking, and wait with your Blast Boy to send the bad guys packing.
Oh, God, it hurts. I'm sorry. I just wanted some food. My family is starving on the streets.
You should have thought of that before entering my home. You answer to the Blast Boy now.
No!
Love that part. Get yourself a Blast Boy 3500 MXP82 Model 6 20-gauge assault scattergun today, and never, ever go unprotected ever again. Welcome back, non-sheeple. The next news items is a slight piece of good news before our main story, because I don't know how it might affect you. It certainly has affected me, but again, we'll get into it. For now, North and South Korea have made peace to form one whole Korea. It was parts our president putting all of our lives at risk with stupid threats, as he's one to do. We're used to it by now. But with most of the credit that should be leveled at the rampant esports community over in South Korea. Now, this 1 in a million case, an online petition to have North Korea's leader and his people cross over into South Korea, was surprisingly a success. While there, they held peace talks over a tournament of Night of Fording 2 Enter the Boogaloo. I think that's the name of the game, by Awesome Games. They apparently have a launcher as well. Not very good. At least that's what the Roded community tells me. I can only go off of them. I don't game that much. What kind of video game tournament, of course, would it be without Mountain Dew sponsoring it? Of course, America has to be profitable. Blah. But whatever. Korea is at peace even with us profiting off of it. There is a slight speculation as to why the two countries have agreed to peace now over a simple video game. Some would argue that it's the power of gaming, but some reports point to a potential alliance with China being on the horizon. America might be less bartery and more stabby in that case. Tentatively, the most feel-good story of the show. We'll see what happens over there. Okay, our main story tonight regards audio clips that were sent in from an anonymous user, along with detailed, classified documents about the implications of these clips. All of these in a sealed envelope titled Sin and the Hackers. That's Sin, spelled S-Y-N. This person also said that they would send more clips based on how well we cover the topic, so here goes nothing. To preface this, though, we all need to know Big Brother is watching over us almost all the time. You know it, I know it. It's just become a fact of life. Spending as much money as they can on defending us, or more like their own interest. Evidently, this Sin is actually the name of the weapon itself, and get this, it's an honest-to-God weaponized AI. We have official documents from the Pentagon dealing with the description and transaction details of when Sin was ordered, created, and delivered to the waiting blood-stained arms of the government. Sin, as detailed by Vilic Enterprises, you know, the same Vilic that profited off of the recent Moldova menace, cooing all the politicians that didn't agree with them, with Vilic-made weaponry supplied by, you already know who, us, to establish a more democratic government. Nothing says democracy like pro-revolution. Yeah, that same Vilic. They worked on this thing from 2025 to 2030 under orders from Congress to build a weaponized AI to, quote, identify and eliminate extremist actors whose views from all ideological and political spectrums threaten the lives of citizens. Can you get any more vague? To make matters worse is the method in which this thing, Sin, eliminates its targets. They engineered a frequency where Sin will record hateful vitriol from its user's own voice and send it back to the user through whichever means the user uses most. This means either headphones, speakers, or even muted. Evidently, they have visuals that trigger the same effect. What is that effect, you might ask? The effect being triggered psychosis, vomiting, loss of hearing, loss of vision, and subsequent heart attack. It's a killing machine. In other words, it's a slow, gruesome death at the hands of this thing. Did I mention it isn't controllable and travels over networks and machines, leaving a copy of itself to monitor potential targets? Oh yeah, it leaves itself on the networks and machines of potential targets. I'm sorry, Tanner, but I gotta say this. Tanner, who, for those of you who are still new to this, maybe he runs the entire NDO wing on the East Coast here. I gotta say this. This is unreal that they would even think to do something like this. This Vincent Wells shithead, the guy who apparently pitched this to Congress to begin with, and was approved, mind you, said the social and cultural climate in this country needs to be calmed down if we wish to handle homegrown terrorism and revolution, to maintain the America we all love. Yeah, pander a little harder there, you wannabe warlord pig. I'm calm. Continuing on, Sin was finished and delivered to our Congress at the Pentagon in 2030. It isn't even a year later in this weapon, which has already been labeled an absolute last-ditch effort, or death note in case of total collapse or overthrowing of the government, has been released from the closed network that this thing was housed on. We have exclusive audio of the incident in question. Just listen to this.
It's so creepy.
I know, right? Can't get enough of this interface.
It's like the cover of the Matrix movie, just with an owl's head smack dab in the middle of the site. Do you know how this even works?
Not really, but that's kind of why we're here, right? I mean, I wanted everybody to get online at the same time, so if something goes wrong, we make it sound like a dying giraffe. I mean, start on the deep dive altogether.
I really don't think we should do this. If this Marianas web is more difficult to get into than the deep web or the dark web, wouldn't that make this the scariest place on the internet? What if someone is tracking all the user activity?
She's got a point.
Look, I've already been contacted by the people who run this particular part of the internet. We've come to an understanding.
Being...
As long as none of us tell anybody about this place, no government agencies, no influencers, no newscasters, no podcasters, no kind of casting of any kind, we're welcome to browse at our leisure.
How do we know we can trust them?
Yeah, well, we don't. That's my point.
Yeah, probably not, but we're all in now. If they're tracking it, we are probably on a list, and besides, they're as in it as we are. So, technically, it's a mutual trust thing. Less talk, more search.
Did those guys say what you can search for? How do you even use this thing? I don't see a search bar.
It looks like there's a silhouette of a magnifying glass lens in the eyes of the owl.
From what they told me, it's a keywords-based search system. The left eye is for the primary subject, so it's a broad topic, and the right eye is for the focus in that subject. You don't actually have to fill them out both at the same time. The left one will just bring up everything relating to it in one go.
All right, well, let's see what lies below. Now, I told you, Gabe, War of the Worlds was real. Pay up.
Of course it had to be freaking real. Stupid government cover-ups.
Come on now, you can't pout your way out of this one.
Anyone else having luck finding out things you thought were myths, or maybes, or possibly coming true?
Well, actually,
I found files on the Bilderbergs, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, even modern sects of the Knights Templar. All the photos look real to me. No text, though. Sorry, you were saying?
Well, I was just thinking about what Matthew Broderick would do in this situation, and that got me thinking about war games, which got me thinking about Ali Sheedy, and then, as soon as I thought about her in that movie, I thought about how hot she was in The Breakfast Club. Wait a minute. Right, what was I doing? Yes, I haven't exactly picked out a topic yet. I got distracted.
But I thought you were all about this stuff.
He's probably still just shocked he even found this place.
What, like a superfan in front of their idol all tongue-tied?
Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay, Gabriel, shut up. Also, keep shutting up. And Todd, you shut up too.
Well, what about something broad, like the US military? Weren't you going on a tangent the other day about all the money we spend on stuff like weapons?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yes, that is a thing that I definitely did. I should get on that.
Good a place as any to start, eh?
Yeah, let's see what our taxes are funding on the black sites and other hush stuff.
I am all over it.
See, right there, potential proof that we were contacted by ancient aliens. Now who pays who?
Let's just call it even, then.
No. You bet more than I did on that one.
Oh, fine. Well, you'll have plenty of time to count your money anyway on the couch tonight.
No bet is worth that.
Well, you clearly don't know me.
Not to interrupt. Okay, I totally meant to interrupt. I found something in a swath of recent military contracts approved by Congress, and recently the nitty-gritty on this thing sounds totally bizarre. How bizarre? Pretty bizarre.
What's it all about?
From some company called Villic Enterprises and has something to do with some kind of weaponized AI.
Ooh, details.
Yeah, any information that isn't blacked out?
Surprisingly, yes. Like, the description and the company are readable. It says in all caps, in bright red, for State of the Union, decimation, or desperation. Also, weaponized AI bot relying on user-recorded input to learn about and terminate targets to turn tides over time for our death row. Wow, somebody really needed an editor for this.
Good grief. Sounds like serious business.
Doesn't sound like anything I'd want to see.
I'll take Mike's hard pass on Skynet possibilities, too.
Oh, well then you're in luck. It says here it's been decommissioned as a project under the review for approval portion of this document.
Society dodged a bullet there.
That's odd.
Adam, what are you doing?
Just cross-checking to see if there are any specifics on this thing anywhere else on the Marianas web.
Well, if it had stuff on all the other secret societies, there should be something about this, right?
And does this project have a name?
Yeah, it's called Project Sin. S-Y-N.
Clever, if not a bit horrifying given what it's supposed to do. I imagine there weren't any details about how this thing eliminates targets.
For all we know, it could have been an advanced cookie bot, like Google style, that tracks a person of interest.
Except they specified in this file, Sin does that for them.
And how we can find out, I just need to get past this particular directory. There's like some kind of security algorithm that I'm having to hack my way around. Just give me a minute.
I really think that's a bad idea. We don't know what this sin does.
Well, right, but that's what we're trying to find out. All we're trying to do is get around the security encryption such that we can actually uncover what's inside. Let's see what's inside. I mean, we don't even know if the thing was finished.
You're right, we don't. But do we want to find out? Because I don't.
I can't hear you over the sound of how awesome I am. Huh. Well, that's interesting. What the... Wait a minute. I'm getting some kind of a weird pop-up with like 2 pixelated monitors connected by a wire with a blue dot running through it. And one of the monitors has a lock on it. Anybody else seeing this?
No, we're not seeing it on our end.
Huh. Well, that's... weird.
I am Sin. You are
What's up?
not Matthew.
Is everything okay?
Maybe?
Now I gotta ask, what did McAfee design the security algorithm for this thing? My iCall has more of a firewall if a few amateur black hatters can crack this closed network. And did you hear that? This thing, this Sin AI talks as if it were a person. The anonymous user who sent us these were sure to say that they weren't anyone in these clips, but I obviously have my doubts. Although which one of them it could be, I have no idea. As for the name it dropped, according to our anonymous source, the lead programmer on the project for the AI division of Villic is Matthew Baker. Matthew, shockingly, is missing now, and is implicated by this sentient killing machine that could be on any one of your machines as we speak. Now you might be asking yourself, Grim, why would any sane, rational person ever create such a dangerous weapon? Well, we are answerless ourselves, or we would be, if we didn't have one more audio clip from Matthew himself. Listen to this shit.
God, where do I start with this? Alright, looks like we're recording. My name is Matthew Baker. I worked for a while at a U.S. contracted corporation, whatever you want to call it, called Villic Enterprises. We made all sorts of different weapons for the U.S. military. Thought we were doing the right thing. May or may not have been. You know, that depends on your views on war or whatever. I was hired by Villic after a while in the field creating AI for video games, just doing personal projects with my own little toys. My Roomba is probably the most complicated and intelligent Roomba in existence. Focus. Villic approached me and said, we need something that can answer to extremism on the internet, mitigate extremist views, ISIS, the alt-right, Antifa, before they go and commit violent crimes. And upon hearing that the U.S. government wanted to put an end to this sort of thing, or at the very least Villic wanted to offer them a solution to that sort of thing, I said yes. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to stop this kind of hate from spreading? I don't know what I was thinking. All of my life I've had to deal with vitriol and hate on the internet, and being part of a force that could stop that, or at the very least minimize it. Nothing could have been a greater honor, so I said yes, and that whole time I was fueled by nothing but emotion, nothing but raw passion for destroying the extremes, the hate, the ways of the internet that we've grown accustomed to, but shouldn't have. I just wanted revenge. But I was younger and dumber at the time, and I thought that the solution was to fight fire with fire. So I created sin. Sin is the embodiment of the entire internet's hate-fueled, rage-fueled rhetoric. Everything that is pulled from the darkest depths of 4chan, Reddit, YouTube, you name it, sin has looked at, listened to, read, and taken to heart. It's the most disgusting work of art ever created. Now it's out there. And it uses this vitriol to respond to vitriolic comments with an even more hateful and disgusting response from the other side. I guess as a way to... ostensibly, it was a way just to show these people what's wrong with the things they say, but in practice it was just revenge. I created a vengeful AI, and I thought that this was the way to get people to stop, is to outdo them, but I think I just made it worse. It's my fault. As I worked on it, as I put it together and saw the hate that it threw back at me when I tested it, I thought, this isn't going to solve anything. This is just going to add more fuel to the fire. Of course, I didn't think it would matter. As soon as I realized what I was doing, I talked to my bosses, I talked to their bosses. I think I worked my way up very close to the CEO at Vilic and basically told them that they cannot, under any circumstances, release this to the world, to the government. But someone needed to know. And I thought that they had taken my suggestions to heart, yet somehow it's out there. I don't know if Vilic ignored my suggestions and sold it to the US anyway. I don't know if someone broke into Vilic and stole the code and released it just because they thought it would be a funny joke, but it's out there, and unless the human race does a complete 180 on their rhetoric, this thing is going to lead to more hate, more violence. It could very well be the end of the internet and maybe humanity as we know it if we let this snowball. So, if you're listening to this, if you come across hateful, disgusting things, or even just something that you disagree with on any internet platform, or even just in your day-to-day life, do not engage. Who knows if it's the AI that you're responding to and you'll just feed it? Who knows if that little bit of escalation will trigger the AI and bring it into the conversation? There's no amount of certainty with this thing, and that's, I think, the scariest part of all. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm scared, is that we've reached a point in humanity where it's near impossible to tell the difference. Signing off. Let me just start over.
This Matthew guy was just righteously indignant about all of the, what can only be called debating and fringe instances of bullying. He had to develop a weapon, like sin, that put all of us at risk. Because there isn't any way this sin could be taught the wrong thing, or if it's as sentient as it already seems to be, adapt into hating everything or everyone, even for valid criticisms? No way. I'm the crazy one, right? This is narcissistic lunacy that our own government greenlit a moralless weapons developer to create what could very well end all of humankind. Scarier yet, we don't even know the individual who sent us these clips. They could be fake, yes, but the people on them sounded as if they didn't know they were being recorded. Or never wanted the recording to get out, like Baker's audio diary that you just heard. I guess we'll have to see if we get any further information from next week's show from our friend in high places. Because now, like all the sham, sacred texts of old, we may be judged by an amorphous AI who takes our comments on the dumb border wall or labels us as a heretic ripe for recycling, or what about this anti-abortion legislation that the president's pushing where he's going to make it whoever performs or receives it is charged with the equivalent of murder. I guess we shouldn't have any right to deal with our own social or cultural climate in this country. Better to have a hellish, vengeful, by the sound of it, AI mommy us like the cavemen we so clearly are. Question of the day, astute listener. Do you believe in sin? Both the philosophical question and now, apparently, the entity. Until next week, dear listener, stay resolute against the powers that be, and never stop questioning, and temper your comments going forward. If sin is real, then we all are in harm's way.